How's it going, folks? So, my previous video didn't work. For some reason, the audio was not coming up. So, I'm going to try to re record this from the camera and see where it goes. Recently, Jinks and Cassandra had put out a video on the organization Citizens Go. And given what they've said on this organization, I got to say, yeah, I mean, this is pretty concerning. Oh, I'm going to chime my 2 cents on this one. It's not going to be as in depth as the previous one, just out of sheer fact that I can always record more videos given what the comments say or anything like that. I just want to cover the basics. One of the things I wanted to point out with Jinx, I know he mentioned that Trump had given to Citizens Go, and there's not a lot of people believing that because they think it's left-wing smear campaigning. And so while, yes, there are people who will defend Trump no matter what he does or won't believe anything negative about Trump, those people do exist. However, there is a portion of this where the national news media does have some culpability in this. The fact is that we're saying anything negative about Trump, regardless if it was true or not, and they were getting into the territory of outright smears and lies. And so when people see this and, you know, they hear Trump bad this, Trump bad that, and it turns out to be lies, it starts to look like anything negative said about Trump is automatically a lie in their book. It's kind of the boy that cried wolf, and it's not your fault, Jinx. Unfortunately, other people did this. However, yeah, that is probably a reason for the reaction to you. Whenever I've criticized Trump, I've had to listen to how I was either a libtard or what are you going to do, vote for the Democrats. So, I mean, I get where you're coming from on that one. It's hard to criticize Trump to people who support Trump because they're automatically going to take it as if it's a lie or something of that nature. But moving on to Citizens Go, given what has been said about Citizens Go, and even looking at their website, it does appear that this organization is one of those ones with a public opinion and a private opinion, so to speak. They'll take an issue that people do seem to care about, and they'll use it as a springboard to push more of their agenda, and that's not right. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations do this. With the issue on, say, the degradation of the family unit, which is something that is an issue in this country, deal with broken homes and single-parent homes. There are a lot of issues associated with broken homes and single-parent homes. Now, what it seems like Citizens Go is doing with this is using this as a springboard to raise money, and they're pushing against things like homosexual marriage, which have very little, if anything, to do, in most cases, with single-parent homes, and that's just simply for the fact that two men sleeping together is not going to produce a baby. Two women sleeping together is not going to produce a baby. Now, you're going to have people that argue that marriage is a religious institution, and that may have been true in the beginning. However, given the fact that marriage is primarily in the hands of the state now, it's become a civil institution. And given that, in the U.S., at bare minimum, you have to treat it as if it's a civil institution, which means the religious side of it takes a back seat when it comes to the law. Our country was not set up to recognize one religion over another. Simply put, our country was set up to be a secular government, and the reason for that being is because our founders knew very well what happens when you intermix state and the religion. While there are very positive aspects of religion, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't mix very well with the state. Their ancestors left Europe in part due to the sectarian issues they were having in a few different countries in Europe. So their ancestors came to the New World to practice their religion freely without having to worry about the state getting involved. So, and furthermore, you don't want the state involved in religion. You guys think our politicians are bad now. Wait till they also can use religion as a means of making some of their corrupt behavior legitimate. And you're not going to get a religious moral state with a theocratic state. What you will get is a political religion. And this is evident how many politicians have crossed their fingers when taking the oath to the Constitution in the United States and just outright ignore the Constitution. They're not going to have any qualms with doing the same for any sort of religious oath either. Furthermore, for those here in the U.S. that desire a more Christian theocracy, I have to ask, would you settle for an Islamic theocracy here? What about a Hindu theocracy or a Buddhist theocracy? And my bet is probably not, because you don't believe in these religions and you don't think you should be forced to live by a religious code that is not yours. So why do you think anybody else wants to do the same? Why do you think that anybody here who's not a Christian would want to live under a Christian theocracy? So there are a few more things I've noticed with what Jinks and Cassandra have put out on this. One being that an organization that's allegedly affiliated with Citizens Go went to the UN. Now, this throws a red flag up to me, and it should throw a red flag up to any freedom-loving American and any freedom-loving citizen worldwide, quite frankly. People don't go to the UN to promote freedom or liberty unless it's to tell the UN to fuck off, kind of like what gun rights advocates here do. In fact, most of the time, we don't even deal with the UN. We just go to our Congress members and tell them, Article 6, you cannot sign off on any treaty that confers you powers that you didn't already have. Thankfully, the U.S. has that codified into law. However, when it comes to these organizations that do go to the UN, they do so to try to get an agenda pushed globally, and they do so probably having an understanding that the UN has something to gain from this. Because if the UN does not have anything to gain from it, they're not going to take it up. The UN is a club of governments. They only seek to advance their interest. And if you think your congressmen here in the U.S. are detached from the people and reality, you have not met a UN representative or a UN official. They are even further gone. Furthermore, if you want any more proof that the the UN is anti-freedom, anti-personal liberty, anti-rights, just look at their UN Declaration of Human Rights, namely Article 29, Section 2 and Section 3. Section 2 gives a lot of these member states an out to violating these rights. They say that they can legislate them and limit them with law, and then Section 3 gives the UN an out And it's a hard out, too. It pretty much says that none of these rights can be exercised in contrary to the mission, purposes, and principles of the United Nations. So let that sink in a second. Imagine some organization that's come out with their Bill of Rights that they expect other nations to adhere to, either wholeheartedly or partially, but then they don't expect themselves to adhere to it. So, yeah, it is very troubling when any organization goes to the UN, in my book. So, on abortion, that is a hot potato issue. We could go into that for a bit. I'm going to leave it at that in this particular video on that one. But folks, you go watch Jinx's and Cassandra's video, say what you think. You got the comment section on my video, and I may or may not be doing a follow-on depending on the comments I get, the feedback I get. So thank you all for watching. Y'all take it easy out there and have a great day.